Hi, I'm Clay with sharing the good news at ClayGentry.com. I want to take a minute today and talk to you about fighting. Now, I don't mean fist fighting. I mean fighting with words. I want to talk to you about arguing. Now, before you shut me off thinking Clay's going to tell me why I shouldn't ever argue, that's not going to be the case. We'll talk about not arguing, but I want my lessons to be based on reality. And really, the fact of the matter is that we argue. We argue with our spouse. We argue with our friends. We argue with our family members, our neighbors, our coworkers, and we even argue with one another as Christians. And so this lesson isn't about not arguing. We'll touch on that. It's really about how to argue within the parameters of the wisdom literature. We'll call it how to fight fair. So let's just jump right on into it. Number one that we need to think about is we don't need to be people who go looking for a fight. Granted, we're going to fight, but we don't want to be that fool, that idiot, that's so angry all the time, we just go around looking for a fight. Listen to what Solomon has to say. He says, a fool's lips walk into a fight. His mouth invites a beating. Look, you come home from work, you've had a hard day, you've been agitated and irritated by everybody there. Don't come home looking to unload on your spouse. Don't come home looking for a fight, because when we look for a fight, we never fight fair. The second thing is that sometimes we don't go looking for a fight comes to us. Well, we need to do our best to try to diffuse it. We don't want to fight. I want to make that point now. We don't want to be people who fight, who fuss and argue all the time, but we do need to do our best to diffuse a situation. A soft word, Solomon says, turns away wrath. But sometimes we're not successful. And so we find ourselves embroiled in an argument, embroiled in a fight. Well, let me give you some things to think about while you're there. Number one, listen before you speak. Listen before you speak. You know, one of the things I hate is when I'm arguing with somebody or we're having a very intense discussion, I cannot stand it. When I'm talking and I can look at them and I can tell the wheels are turning in their mind because they're thinking about what they want to say as soon as I stop talking. I can't stand it when people will not listen to what I'm trying to say. You know what? People don't like it when I do that to them. I need to be the kind of person who is swift to listen and slow to speak. We need to do the same thing. And show one another courtesy. We want them to listen to us. We need to listen to them. Hear what Solomon has to say. He says, if one gives an answer before he hears, it's to his folly and his shame. Look, don't be the person who falls into folly and shame. When you get yourself into a fight, fight fair and listen before you speak. Something else to consider while you're in a fight is to keep it clean. Keep the fight clean. You know, when boxers are fixing to go at one another, the referee will bring them into the center of the ring, and at least according to all the Rocky movies, the first thing they say is, now listen boys, I want a clean fight. Keep it clean. By that I mean, if you're in an argument, you're in a fight, keep it clean by not belittling the other person with your language. No sarcasm, no name-calling, no exaggerations, no verbal sucker punches. You know, nothing will harm a relationship any more than using language that hurts, that maims. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but you know what? Words really do hurt. Keep it clean. Let me give you the words of Solomon here. This is from Proverbs 11 and 12. Solomon said, whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense. Don't be that person. Fight fair. And keep the fight clean by using good, clean words. Well, another one we want to think about is stick to the subject at hand. Stick to the subject at hand. Look, if you're going to fight about politics, or you're going to fight about current political situations, or which football team is better, or if you're going to fight about the bills, and you're going to argue about whether you should go to your mother-in-law's for dinner, or whatever the argument is, just stick to the subject at hand. There is no reason to dig up something that person did a year ago, or 2 years ago, or even 6 weeks ago. So long, if it has nothing to do with what you're talking about, there is no reason to bring it up. Look, this is what Solomon said. An ungodly man digs up evil. In his lips is a burning fire. Look, you're not fighting fair. If you perceive that you're losing the argument, and so in order to win, you want to dig up something from the past that this person that you're arguing with has done, that's not fighting fair. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs at the fingertips in order to use them to attack other people. Look, fight fair. Stick to the subject at hand. Well, the next one is then know when to stop. Know when to stop. Solomon said this, and I think this is very important for us to know. When words are many, transgression is not lacking. The longer you fight, the longer you argue, the more likely you are to be angry and sin. The more likely you are to transgress against God by not fighting fair, by hurting the person that you are arguing with. So know when to stop. Perceive when the argument has gone a little too far, or perhaps it's getting close to a breaking point. Stop. Know when to stop. Well, and knowing when to stop, then that takes us to the next. To seek a resolution. Seek to resolve the argument. Seek to resolve the fight. This is what Solomon said. He said, better is a dry morsel in a quiet house than a house full of feasting where there is strife. You need to seek to resolve whatever argument it is that you might have with your spouse or a friend, family, coworker, or with a fellow Christian. This is not about winning the fight. This is about resolving the fight. And in resolving the fight, in the short term, you might lose, but in the long term, you will win. And then the last key to kind of fighting fair is to keep the fight private. If you have a fight with your wife or with your husband, or if you have a fight with a Christian at church, there's no reason for you to go on Facebook and blab about it. There's no reason for you to call up your friend or call up your mama and say, can you believe what we just did, or what they just did to me, or what they said to me? Now, if you're seeking wise counsel, that's one thing. But make sure your motives are pure in discussing an argument or a fight you have with somebody. Because so often the case is we go in under the guise of seeking wise counsel when really all we're wanting to do is gossip. So keep the fight private. Listen to Solomon. Argue your case with your neighbor himself. Do not go about revealing secrets. I hope that those keys will help you fight fair. Look, we're going to fight. We don't want to. We don't need to. But sometimes it's just going to happen. And fighting within itself is not wrong, so long as we fight fair. Well, if I can help you in any spiritual way in this journey that we're taking towards heaven, you can always email me, clay@claygentry.com.